Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm home in a familiar setting, and I can feel the streak beckoning me. The tips, they need to be touched, and we're back. And I'm very excited to be home. We're here for Simply Sessions, and we get to do it live. Once again, I'm home. And yeah, I can't. Nico's here. He's going to fill us in on the latest and greatest, and then I got you with the tech afterwards, and it's going to be a good time. Everybody in the chat, I'll be putting that up on the screen as we discuss. So keep those comments coming as we go. Of course, for the first time in a number of weeks, this is live. Anything can happen, so I defer to my friend Bill here.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
No. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. And thing sucks.
If you have not already, like, subscribe, share, all those things. They help a ton getting this content in front of more eyeballs. I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your Simply Session.
Hodl the Bitcoin.
All right, before we bring in Nico to discuss what's been going on this week, let's take a look at where we are in the market right now. This is timechain-calendar.com. We're currently sitting at $26,093 per coin. A single US dollar will pick you up 3,832 sats. In terms of fees, it looks like 14 sats per byte for next block. If you're willing to wait a little bit, 9 sats per byte should do you. Don't be broadcasting anything short of 4.5 sats per byte because you'll get purged from the mempool. And then in terms of Bitcoin mined, 19.47 million of them. That's 92.7% of the total supply. Shout out to sponsor of the show, hodlhodl.com. If you're stacking sats and you've got some priorities in mind, like peer-to-peer trading, instant self-custody, no KYC, you can head here. Super simple. Sign up with nothing more than an email address. Once you're in, scroll down, choose a currency, a payment method, an amount. You'll be able to view offers immediately and start stacking non-KYC sats in no time. They also have a peer-to-peer lending platform in which nothing is ever rehypothecated. Check them out today, hodlhodl.com. Link is in the show notes down below. When you do stack those non-KYC sats, you're going to want to store them in some of the most secure hardware on the market. And CoinKite is no joke. They've got a ton of awesome stuff. The Cold Card Mark IV is my go-to device. I have a ton of other awesome stuff from them, like the Tap Signer, the Sats Card, the Blog Clock, the Open Dime, and coming soon, I've already pre-ordered mine. Have you? The Cold Card Q1 comes out later this year. It looks absolutely beastly, so be sure to pick up yourself. If you want to reserve one or grab anything else I mentioned, head to coinkite.com. Use code BTC Sessions for 5% off everything in the store. Now, you also want to have robust backups for your wallets, and Cedar, sponsor of the show. Love these guys. They have one of the most robust steel backups on the market. Their disc and capsule design keeps your seed phrase safe from the elements, fire, water, corrosion, all of that. Everything you need is in their beginner or starter set. Big ass mallet and a ton of security around your seed phrase. Check them out today. Links are in the show notes down below, and it'll give you everything you need to back up 2 full seed phrases. You can always get more discs and capsules later. Now, speaking of multiple seed phrases, if you're looking to dive into multi-sig, namely assisted multi-sig, look no further than nunchuck.io. They have their Honey Badger product in which they will hold a single key and you'll hold the rest of the keys in a multi-sig quorum. It's super easy to set up. It handholds you the whole way on your mobile device, and you can pair it with things like the Tap Signer, the Cold Card, and a ton of other hardware options. Super easy to set up. It has baked-in inheritance planning, so your sats get to your next of kin, and the whole thing is non-KYC. You don't need to give any personal information in order to set it up and have it work for you. Check them out, nunchuck.io. And finally, Start9, your sovereign computing solution. Love these guys. While I was traveling, it was seamless interacting with my Start9 server, and I host my whole Bitcoin stack there. So you can get one of these plug-and-play devices. Super easy to do. You can run Bitcoin Core, Lightning, mempool.space, your data, files, passwords, photos, even Nostra relays and clients, all that great stuff. You can get a device, anything from their entry level all the way to what I'm running, an absolute insane device called the Server pure. Either way, you will be set with Start9. Check them out, start9.com. And with that, I'm going to stop my rambling. Need to get in my buddy here. Dude, it's been far too long. Far too long.
Dude, our tips started to get desynchronized. It's too long of distances. Like I tried to connect through my Start9 Pure. I don't know what was going on. It maybe tore or something. I have no idea. But now that we're together, I feel the urge of making tutorials once again. So
yes, it's like the tips, they forked for a while and then we settled on the longest chain. We're back.
It's true. It's true. It's true. But missed you, man. We tried to hold it down. We did it. I think we did it. We did pretty good remotely for a minute. By the way, for anyone who's curious, I am literally streaming live from the floor of BitBlock Boom. So it's going to be an interesting show today, man.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to chat what's been going on, and I'm so sad I can't be at BitBlock Boom, but I will be seeing you coming up at another event in the fall, and I'm sure we'll start talking about that. Either way, the first comment to pop up: hair tips are touching. Awesome. Well, dude, let's chat news. What's been going on? What do you want to chat about here?
Yeah, so first, I want to start off with this post that was originally posted by Jimmy Song, and it was posted a while ago, but Jimmy Song was discussing the reasons as to why Joe Rogan hasn't brought up Bitcoin, right? And he really goes kind of in depth, and it's a really important question because the last time Joe Rogan had a Bitcoiner on was Andreas Antonopoulos. And without a shadow of a doubt, you can't ignore what's been happening, whether that's Nayib Bukele of El Salvador, Bitcoin becoming legal tender, or, of course, Michael Saylor making the rounds, like being this Bitcoin evangelist. It's a big deal. And Joe Rogan is known for covering those types of topics. And it's really strange as to why he's been avoiding this completely. And I think Jimmy had a really, really good response here. And I think he wrote this directly on Stacker News, and I think he tweeted it out as well. So I'm going to read some of it. It is very, very long, but it does get into some of the reasons as to why he believes that Joe Rogan, the most popular broadcaster and entertainer in the world, 11 million average plays per episode, hasn't brought on a Bitcoiner for 7 years now. It's been quite a long time. So Jimmy goes on to say, Joe Rogan has sidestepped Bitcoin discussions for the past several years, despite previously hosting Andreas Antonopoulos multiple times. What's stopping him from inviting more Bitcoin enthusiasts? At the heart of it, Rogan simply may not be interested. Delving into Bitcoin discussions means wading into the relentless debates between Bitcoin and altcoin supporters. Every Bitcoiner who touches on Bitcoin faces the pressure of giving equal time to altcoin enthusiasts. This tug of war is daunting, and Rogan likely prefers to sidestep it. Consider the case of Lex Fridman, who has faced criticism from both sides for trying to strike a balance. It's why Rogan doesn't have anyone on to discuss abortion, for example. It's a controversial topic. Anyone you will have on will destroy your standing. So it goes on to say the controversy will remain on Bitcoin versus altcoins, and that's something he'll be able to avoid. He needs more conviction before he'll be able to talk on his show, and that's not something he has yet. So instead of trying to bully him into having a guest on, just point out the obvious. Fiat money is the cause of a lot of the societal degeneration. Whether he gets it sooner or later will be up to him. So what's your take on that, Ben? Curious.
I mean, if I didn't quite understand the difference between Bitcoin and everything else, it would be difficult to navigate trying to, because at the second that you say anything about Bitcoin, you get all of the shitcoiners chiming in, say, oh, this is better, this is the other thing. And how do you, unless you give it considerable time, how do you siphon through all that information? Like if he knows that he just doesn't have the time to go, like it's clear he understands that CBDCs are a panopticon and just like this horrible thing that is looming over humanity in the near future. But I don't envy anybody in a public position that needs to go through their Bitcoin learning curve, because the scrutiny is harsh. And I mean, myself and others have kind of, if you weren't a public persona at the time as you were learning, you got to go through your shitcoin phase relatively unscathed in terms of scrutiny from others, and you got to learn and then figure out where you were. Whereas as soon as you're public, if you make a misstep, then Bitcoiners can be an abrasive bunch, we'll say, and like that's good. That's the immune system. But at the same time, it can be tough. It can be definitely tough to learn in that environment. So I get it, and I think I partially agree.
Yeah, I agree. I partially agree, but at the same time, it's like, at what point would you say it's a disservice? At what point? Because it is like, I think Jimmy nailed it at the end, where it's like, look, like a lot of these societal issues that Joe Rogan is so passionate talking about, like he's talked about CBDCs. He said, fuck that. Like to be blunt, right? At what point is it, at what point is enough? At what point does he need to take action?
Yeah.
And I think that's really the big question. But I completely agree. It's a hard position to be in. But at the end of the day, you can only avoid the topic for so long. It's inevitable. All roads lead to Bitcoin. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, he'll get there. Well, I feel like there's going to be a little bit of shitcoining in between, or there's going to be a little bit of not fully understanding. He's not just going to dive balls deep into Bitcoin maximalism or anything anytime soon, but he'll get there, and yeah, we'll get to watch it live, I suppose.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So in other news, it looks like Europe beat the US to the punch. Europe launches first spot Bitcoin ETF. Here's more of the article. It says, in what is certainly an important moment for the industry as a whole, Europe has launched its first spot Bitcoin ETF called the Jacobi FT Warschauer Bitcoin ETF. The service is in regulatory compliance with the Guernsey Financial Services Commission and has been listed on Euronext Amsterdam 2 years after its approval. The official launch shows Europe's initial spot Bitcoin ETF, as the United States has seen a plethora of companies submit applications. Alternatively, Jacobi has approved for the fund in October 21, following plans to list in 2022. The firm ultimately pushed back the launch date due to circumstances. The last few months have seen spot Bitcoin ETFs become the talk of the digital assets industry. A host of applications in the U.S. from digital asset firms and traditional finance entities alike have seen the offering increase in importance. Now Europe has officially seen the launch of its very first spot Bitcoin ETF. So if you kind of zoom out, because again, if you just look at Europe by itself, you could say it's noise. Canada has spot Bitcoin ETFs. Europe has spot Bitcoin ETFs. The last one to fall is the United States. And I think that Gary Gensler could only resist this for so long. And now that BlackRock has got into the fold, the largest asset manager in the world, you can even say one of the most powerful companies in the world, so much political influence. It's just a matter of time. They could only, they're and again, you have to question their motives. Like what, with the banking stuff, and like it's rules for thee and not for me. It's a double standards between the Bitcoin industry and the rest of the financial industry,
Yeah.
and that to me is unfortunate, to say the least. Anyways, what's your take, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I just think of BlackRock and despite the shitcoiny Winklevoss twins, I feel for them because they've been trying to get a friggin' ETF for years and years and years, and the SEC basically just delays everything to the very last moment multiple times over and over, says nothing the entire time, and then says no. And BlackRock enters the fray, and inside of a week, the SEC is like, well, what they'll need to do is these following things in order to make sure everything's in line. Like, it's pretty clear that they're setting BlackRock up to get approval at some point, and BlackRock will probably be the one because they've got the power there. But all these guys that have been trying to get an ETF through, and just pumping millions and millions of capital into trying to make it happen, and just gotten slapped down at every turn. And then the good old boys club rolls in, and they get the white glove treatment. So yeah, it's gonna happen, and it's pretty clear that there's a hierarchy out there.
Without a shadow of a doubt. It's rules for thee and not for me. There's a hierarchy. BlackRock is the biggest fish. They have this special privilege. Anyways, in other news, Nayib Bukele once again gets to say, "I told you so." This is a fascinating article after 2 years of relentless onslaught from the legacy corporate media. Nayib Bukele proves another win. This is not Nico or a Bitcoiner saying this. This is literally a tweet from Bloomberg. El Salvador President Nayib Bukele scared off Wall Street by embracing Bitcoin. 2 years later, the bond rally he's overseeing is proving too lucrative to resist. That is the power of Bitcoin. That is the power of Bitcoin's incentives. Now let's get into some of the details of like who these people are. So it starts off by saying what I read you guys in the tweet, but it follows up with saying eye-popping 70% returns, the best among dollar bonds from emerging markets this year, are attracting investors who were once cautious in avoiding securities altogether. JP Morgan Chase, shout out Jamie Dimon, and Eden Vance and PGIM Fixed Income are among those who have recommended or bought the debt, betting it will continue climbing. Quote, although we missed a significant share of the rally, we still think there's value across El Salvador's curve. JP Morgan Research Strategies Ben Ramsley, Nashat Pujet, and Gorka Laguna wrote in July note, moving overweight on the debt, there's room for this credit to keep outperforming, right? And again, I don't think it's a coincidence that the country that adopted Bitcoin as legal tender made Seyfeddin Ammous an economic advisor, right? So they're embracing Austrian economics. I don't think that's a coincidence that is the country that has the best dollar returns out of all emerging markets, right? Yeah. This is what we said was going to happen this entire time. And legacy media, we told you so, and I'm glad that Nayib Bukele, El Salvador, and Bitcoiners get to rub it in your face.
Yeah, it's great to see. It's interesting because these bonds are kind of following suit with what ended up happening with shares of MicroStrategy, right? You get exposure to Bitcoin, you've got an edge. And MicroStrategy, since adding its balance sheet, adding Bitcoin to its balance sheet, if you look at the value of the company and the value of the shares over that period of time, everybody, the legacy media likes to point to, the value of his Bitcoin is down, X% at any given time. But they don't look at the value of the company in lockstep with the value of the Bitcoin and what wonders this has done for him. And yeah, El Salvador is going to get to do this exact same victory lap. And for a period of time, it was, they made a horrible call, blah, blah, blah. And look, they're down and blah, blah, blah. But now it's, they're actually doing pretty well. And oh my God, a lot of people are very interested in purchasing bonds from them. So yeah, I mean, the wins will continue to rack up for anybody that decides to go on a Bitcoin standard and has a low time preference about it.
1,000,000%, dude. 1,000,000%. Bitcoin's incentives stay winning, and I think that it's going to be very difficult for the legacy corporate media to try to obfuscate that. I think the results speak for themselves. You hit the nail on the head when you brought up Michael Saylor. He's posting these charts about how MicroStrategy is outperforming everything because they've adopted a Bitcoin standard. That is not a coincidence. You really got that right. So this was really interesting, and this happened around the same time that the Bitcoin price dumped. And what I'm referring to, what I'm talking about, is this tweet by Bitcoin Magazine that was referencing this Wall Street Journal article. Now, this Wall Street Journal article is like, it was weird, bro. Like, I'll read you the thing because it wasn't really clear. Like, they did say the word sold, but they didn't. And then this came around the time from where Bitcoin dumped from 30 to 26K. And it was community noted on Twitter. So it's very strange. But by the way, right, check this out. And again, there's no conspiracies, but there's also no coincidences, okay? They're talking about Elon Musk SpaceX sold all its $373 billion Bitcoin, right? Mm-hmm. What company does Elon also own?
Yeah, Tesla.
Twitter, x.com.
Yeah.
What platform was this fact checked on?
Oh shit.
Just say. So let's read the passage real quick from the article, which is where Bitcoin Magazine got the information from. It says the documents also show X.com wrote down the value of Bitcoin it owns by a total of 373 million last year, and in 2021, and has sold the currency. Like you would think, Tesla has taken a similar approach with its Bitcoin holdings. Musk has posted about cryptocurrencies frequently over the years. Like that infers a lot. Like I don't know, maybe I'm seeing things, Ben, but like, you know, did the Wall Street Journal want to dump Bitcoin so they got cheaper sats? Like maybe Elon was, dude, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but like a lot of coincidence happening at the same time.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I mean, again, fiat journalism. So who knows? I'd give it a 50-50 shot between malice and incompetence. I don't know which way to go. I can't quite turn the wheel in any one direction.
Right. It's just a lot of coincidences. A lot of coincidences these days, dude. So many of them. Anyways, in other news, we have a presidential candidate in Argentina. He is a libertarian, and he is an Austrian economist. Now, Javier Milei is interesting because he's done multiple interviews where he has literally come out and has said that central banking is a scam, that inflation is a hidden tax by politicians, that central banking itself is the problem, that Bitcoin is a natural response to central bankers' shenanigans, and he's talking about this publicly. Now, normally this wouldn't matter. It would have no significance, but the significance of it is the fact that this guy won the presidential primary by 12 points, by 11 points, 11 to 12 points. And then why did he win this? Because Argentina is currently dealing with 120% inflation. People are sick of it. They're seeking a solution. And dude, we might get a Bitcoin president of a major country. Argentina is a very, very, very big country. And this guy has a really good shot at winning the presidency, ending the central bank, and perhaps taking Bitcoin. Here are some of the things that he has said specifically to get into some of the details. So it says Milei's plans includes slashing spending by at least 13% of the GDP before mid-2025 by dramatically downsizing public works, reducing the number of ministries, removing subsidies and capital restrictions that would allow businesses to transact in dollars. More drastically, he also plans to shutter the central bank, which he said has no reason to exist. Dude, that is like, in terms of the Overton window, dude, he's shifting that. Like, he's shifting that so hard. And that is important because, dude, even if he doesn't win, right? Like, even if this guy, you know, doesn't win the election, he's moving that. He's making this rhetoric acceptable in the eyes of the public. So it goes on to say central banks are divided in 4 categories: the bad ones, like the Federal Reserve; the very bad ones, like the ones in Argentina; the horribly bad ones, the horribly bad ones, and then the Central Bank of Argentina. If Milei wins the presidency, he plans to hand over the keys to the central bank to economist Emilio Campo, his informal advisor on the dollarization program, so that he can shut it down. So dude, like, I mean, I don't know, Ben, like, this is crazy. You know, that what's that meme that we say in Bitcoin? It happens slowly at first and then all at once.
Yeah. It's wild to see, in particular in the country that signed the restructuring plan with the IMF that had the conditions to basically make it as difficult as possible to deal with Bitcoin and give all these restrictions to entities dealing with Bitcoin. I would love to see, I would just love to see the stirring of the pot of him getting in and just like quashing all of that and just, again, like, I don't know a ton about the guy and his policies, but I've seen a whole bunch of clips of him being, compared to other politicians, very controversial with some deep-rooted major institutions. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Also, do you think we could get him to streak his hair? Because that is one hell of a mop he's got.
Oh man, is that the third streak?
Yeah.
Dude, could you imagine what's it called when 3 streaks touch? Is it still touching of the tips?
I don't know. I mean, I've got to imagine it would be some sort of Ghostbusters-esque crossing of the streams where like there's a potential to like disrupt the space-time continuum or something.
100%. It would disrupt the space-time continuum. And you know what I think would happen? There would be a combustion, and out of that combustion, a yellow would be born.
Yeah.
Just a yellow would just come out of those flames.
I think so. Yeah, it would be wild. Whatever happened, it would be a god candle for sure.
But it wouldn't be like a Greek yellow. I was thinking more like a Russian yellow, maybe.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
Maybe a Canadian. I don't know. Anyways.
Maybe it'd be a mix.
Anyways, all right. So the last part of the news is a little bit dark, but I think so. Sophie, for anyone who doesn't know, it's my fiance, and she did a cover on a song that has gone absolutely viral. It has broken the internet. It's called "Richmond North of Richmond." And the reason that I believe this song went viral is because a lot of people are enduring economic hardships. And I think that the political environment today is a reflection of people's desperation. They continue to seek a political solution, meaning they believe that a specific candidate is going to get them out of their problems. But they don't realize that it doesn't matter which party's in power, whether it's the conservatives or the liberals, the issue remains the same. As long as there's a bureaucratic elite that have the ability to create money for free, that the rest of us have to work for, the incentives are misaligned. And I think that this song, the reason it blew up the way that it did is because it really struck a chord. People are realizing, but where I think they're mistaken is they're putting their frustrations on politicians and political parties, and they're not putting their frustrations on what the actual problem is, and the problem is money. So Sophie came up with the idea of covering the song, but actually adding a Bitcoin spin and presenting a solution at the very end. And of course, that solution is the separation of money and state.
I love it. All right, I'm gonna play the beginning. I'm gonna take it to the end of the first chorus, and then anybody that likes the cover, hit up Twitter. Everybody is retweeting it. It's all over, and it's fantastic. She did a great job. So I'm gonna do full screen for this one, man. Here we go.
My soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay, so I can sit out here and waste my life away, drag back home and drown my troubles away. It's a damn shame what the world's gone to for people like me and people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is living in the new world with an old soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do, 'cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxing no end, 'cause of Richmond, north of Richmond. Oh, I wish politics.
Oh, I love it. It's so good. It's so good. I'm so stoked that that everybody appreciated that as much as I do.
Dude, it's it's the Bitcoiners rendition of this song that I really think represents our movement. I really think it does. At the very end, I included some B-roll of Ben in there, some B-roll of other Bitcoiners, and the last message is the message that I told to you guys before we played the video. But yeah, man, it's Ben, can I say what your talent is?
Huh.
You, huh?
What, you can say whatever the hell you want, man.
Okay, so Ben, in case anyone doesn't know, he knows how to sing.
Well, I'd say not as good as Sophie, that's for sure.
I mean, I would love to see a Richmond, north of Richmond, a cappella between you guys.
Oh my. Maybe we'll do some sort of. I got to get one out to one of those Rockamotos. I haven't been able to attend yet. Or we'll have to have some sort of like amazing Bitcoin karaoke night or something like that. Actually, funny story, back when there was going to be Bitcoin 2020 before it got canceled, myself and Stefan Lavera were going to host a karaoke night as like one of the events. But everything fell through because, the world shut down, unfortunately.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. It's crazy stuff. All right, so the big news of today, and we're going to end it with this, and I think the song was great. It was a great preface to this specifically. This is the separation of money and state. I believe that this is one of the most sophisticated attack vectors that the U.S. government is going to try to use in order to attack Bitcoin. This is Zach Herbert. He's the CEO and founder of Foundation. They make a great hardware wallet. It's called the Passport. And he's referencing the Tornado Cash founder, Romain Storm, arrested by the FBI. So we'll touch back to what that story was, but it's actually a story that we've covered on Simply Sessions. And basically, it was for the first time in U.S. history where an open source developer was charged with a crime, and not only that, open source software was sanctioned by the U.S. government. And that sets a very dangerous precedent. Mm-hmm. What happens when they say, for example, that running a node, running software, is breaking sanctions? Right? When you run a node, man, you have a copy of the blockchain. You have a copy of every single transaction that's there. Mm-hmm. Right. And some of those transactions, what I believe they're trying to do is they're setting a precedent. They're setting the attack vector. And it's really, really scary. Now, Coin Center, which is a lobbying arm for the Bitcoin and shitcoin industry, initially replied to this back when the news broke out. It was roughly a year ago. And it goes on to say, today, Coin Center, along with a group of normal privacy-seeking workers, donors, and public activists, filed a lawsuit against the Treasury Department to keep privacy normal, to delist Tornado Cash privacy tools from sanctions, and to enjoin Treasury from enforcing against ordinary Americans exercising their self-evident and basic rights to privacy. Like, I can't believe we live in a world where, where the government is sanctioning software. Mm-hmm. Like, I get it. Like, fine. Like, you could have said, okay, this software was used by criminals. Perhaps, the developer, Roman, benefited from it financially. But you could make the argument that people that run nodes that, are enabling Lightning transactions, you could say they're benefiting from it financially. This sets an extremely dangerous precedent. This is uncharted territory. And mind you, this lawsuit that Coin Center filed, they lost that lawsuit. And this guy, Roman, was just arrested yesterday. This is scary stuff. And they will use this. They're starting with Tornado Cash, which is this open source software no one really pays attention to. No one really knew. They use the North Koreans as the straw man, as the justification, right? But how long until they say, hey, you running a Bitcoin node, you're circumventing U.S. sanction policy. You have to run an OFAC compliant chain. Remember the news that came out the other day, Ben, that 51% of the Bitcoin hash rate is coming from mining pools that KYC their mining clients, right? Yeah. So this is like, you're seeing it, like it's happening in the background, but if you pay attention and you connect the dots, this is a clear attack vector. They're setting up the stage, and they're trying to set a precedent saying open source software is dangerous in itself. Sanctions were never meant for that. Sanctions were meant for individuals, companies, and governments, not software. What is software but code? It's just speech, right? It's a tool, so it's insane. And of course, like, why is this happening? I think it's happening because governments are losing their control on the monopoly of money. And it actually reminds me of a passage from The Sovereign Individual, which I think I've read many times on Simply Sessions, but it goes something like this. It says, new technologies will allow the holders of wealth to bypass the national monopolies that have issued and regulated money in the modern period. Their importance for controlling the world's wealth will be transcended by mathematical algorithms that have no physical existence. In the new millennium, cyber money controlled by private markets will supersede fiat money issued by governments. Lacking their accustomed scope to tax and inflate, governments, even in traditionally civil countries, will turn nasty. Businesses that offer services that facilitate the realization of autonomy by individuals will be subject to infiltration, sabotage, and disruption. Governments will violate human rights, censor the free flow of information, sabotage useful technologies, and worse. Once again, the sovereign individual hit the frickin' nail on the head.
Yeah. Yeah, it's scary, man. And I mean, at the end of the day, all of these measures taken by governments it won't prevail, but they can cause a hell of a time for people that are kind of the pioneers of this movement. And unfortunately, we just got to look at some of our first martyrs here, and that's really, really unfortunate. So yeah, I hope that I hope that things get better. I hope that we have a Phil Zimmerman type moment where something goes to court and it becomes irrefutable that this is speech. But I don't know, in today's political environment, I just don't know.
Absolutely, man. These are crazy times. This is a separation of money and state. This is what the peaceful Bitcoin revolution is all about. Anyways, Ben, it's always an honor to do Simply Sessions. And guys, this is my favorite part. This was your Simply Sessions. See you next week, Ben.
Later, man. Have a good time at BitBlock Boom.
Thanks, buddy. Peace.
See ya. All right, everyone. Before we wrap up, let's take a quick look at the tech and news updates for you. So I'm just going to pull up my screen here and we'll rattle them off. We'll get everything covered for you. Okay, so up first, I wanted to give a tip of the hat to Bitbox. They added in mini-script support. So what is mini-script? Effectively, it's going to make way for a ton of great things, especially in and around how you can very granularly control the credentials to your Bitcoin down the road. So what do I mean by that? Let's say you set up a multi-sig and it's like a 3 of 5. You can have it so that it degrades over time. For the first X number of blocks, it's a 3 of 5. But after a certain number of blocks, then all of a sudden you don't need 3 of 5, you need 2 of 5. And then if you lost other keys, eventually it could be 1 of 5. And it could be set like that unless you do a transaction. So it allows this programmability to how you can spend Bitcoin, and makes it accessible to all through hardware devices and software. So that's awesome. Excited to see that roll out. We got a couple of Nostr updates. So Nostr, like Nostur, is a client. They added in music streams, relay feeds, and more. This is a client for desktop. I hadn't tried it out before, but I downloaded it and it's kind of cool, actually. I'll pull it over. There's my Rumble going there, but yeah. So yeah, it's a native. It's on Mac. You can get it, if I'm not mistaken, you can get it for iPhone and iPad as well. Anyways, kind of cool. I think that's awesome. There's another thing as well that just came out, Pulsar. It's private Nostr chat app, and it protects your metadata, so you can privately message people, but also protect any metadata around timing and frequency of messaging. It'll actually it'll basically pad out messages with garbage data, so everything looks the same size, so that you can't decipher between different messages. It'll also regularly, I can't remember the interval, every every 3 seconds, it'll also post an encrypted message that is just nothing. And so the reason for that is so that if somebody's trying to monitor the frequency of when you're interacting with people, it'll just send out what's known as a pulse. That is basically like a fake message. So nobody can really tell when you're talking, when you're not, and differentiate messages in between, even though they're encrypted. It makes all the blobs of encrypted information uniform. So it's really difficult to decipher that. Anyways, also updates to Amethyst. They also added in private DMs and group chats and some other UI improvements. This is actually my go-to on mobile, although I've been using Primal a little bit more as well. And Primal on desktop is pretty awesome. But yeah, I mean, Noster, there's just always something new coming out because there's so many people playing and working on it, which is awesome. Okay. Shout out Lynn Alden. She just dropped her book, Broken Money. It's on Amazon. And she made it into the number 40 in all books on Amazon. So she's in the top 100 books on all types of books in all categories on Amazon. And that's awesome. She also made it into number 1 in banks and banking, in number 1 in money and monetary policy, and number 1 in digital currencies. So yeah, I grabbed a copy of it. Also, I'm excited for it to arrive, but also I sent her a message. I said, congrats on the book. And she replied back, apparently I'm mentioned in a chapter in regards to the Canadian trucker protest, which is wild. So that's, I'm kind of stoked about that. So anyways, very excited about that. Go check out Lynn's book. A couple other things here. This is interesting. So a number of you will be familiar with Steve Barber and Upstream Data. They're basically a Bitcoin mining company that goes and captured flared oil and gas wells and uses the methane and other waste gases to then use that energy and mine Bitcoin with it. And they've been in Alberta for quite some time. Anyways, this is the premier, or basically kind of like a senator or a governor of my province, Alberta. And here she is visiting Steve Barber at his company up in Lloydminster, Upstream Data. And just so you know, the leader of my province, that's her there, Danielle Smith, she is indeed a Bitcoiner. She used to have a talk radio show. She had me on 3 different times to talk about Bitcoin. And it's kind of cool to see her recognizing the marriage of Bitcoin and energy and how those two are linked. Love to see it. And I think that's bullish for the province moving forward. Anyways, let's move on from there. Again, I brought this up earlier. I was gonna, I was gonna do it independently, but nonetheless, there's Sophie, Nico's better half, singing "Rich Men North of Richmond." You can find her on Twitter at Internet Sophie, SOPHI, and give her video a like and a share. And then finally, just announced recently in the past week or so. Anyways, Bitcoin Atlantis Conference taking place in Madeira on March 1st through 3rd. It will gather main leading voices of Bitcoin for a 3-day conference in Madeira in the middle of the Atlantic. It looks pretty badass. I'm going to be there. I'm very excited to go to Madeira. I've never been. I've heard great things. And if you're going, I'll see you there. Very exciting. Somewhere else I'll be, we alluded to it earlier. I'm going to be at Pacific Bitcoin October 5th and 6th. Very much looking to this. It was an absolute blast last year. It's going to be a lot of fun this year. I can't wait to get down there and see everybody again. If you're going, I'm nearly positive that there's a referral code. So if you want, I don't know what percent off. I'm so good at this. I don't know what percent off, but anyways, you can use code BTC Sessions for both events, I believe. So if you're heading to Madeira or to Pacific Bitcoin, just use code BTC Sessions and you'll get a less expensive ticket. Yeah, anyways. Oh yeah, on a personal note, my YouTube just ticked over 80,000 subscribers. Awesome. I'm very excited about that. Thank you to everybody that watches and that has subscribed. If you haven't already, please go do it. I made a post about it. I'm very grateful for it. 100K is a long-standing goal of mine. And I've got to say, it's been a bit of a grind to get there, especially with tutorial content. It's not as flashy as an excited face and constant stories about how rich you're going to be. But that's not how we play it on this channel. I like to talk about things that I'm excited about, which tends to be how do you secure your Bitcoin? How to use all the new exciting things that are coming out, and that Lightning and whatever other instruments that you can use to interact with, use, and secure your Bitcoin. That's what excites me. And luckily, a lot of people have come to get excited about that too, and follow me in my journey over the past number of years, and subscribe and use tutorials to learn how to use Bitcoin themselves. But I very much appreciate everybody that has subscribed and got me to this point. And hey, we'll see if I break 100K before the Bitcoin price does. What do you think? What's your wager? Anyways, moving on. A recent tutorial that I did, most recent one that came out, for you Canadians out there, Bull Bitcoin getting non-KYC sats via Bull Bitcoin. Basically, you can go to any Canadian post office with cash and fund an account. You don't have to provide ID or anything like that. And then you'll be able to send it directly to your own custody. It's pretty badass. Anyways, watch the video. It's a good time. Canadians should check it out. Also, tomorrow, why are we bullish? I've got Rob Warren. He's with Riot. I've got Brian DeMintz there choking out Tatum, and he's an ambassador for Orange Pill app, and he's doing a ton of other great things. And he's also the author of Bitcoin Evangelism. And then we've got Pastor Coin, an actual pastor who's bullish on the corn and uses the inherent morals in Bitcoin to preach to his flock, shall we say. Nonetheless, very excited to have all these gentlemen on. That will be tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern time. And with that, I'm going to round it out. Thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. If you're listening on the pod afterwards, like, subscribe, share, all those things. They do really help a ton, getting this stuff in front of more eyeballs. You can also check out the previously mentioned sponsors. Those were Hodl Hodl, CoinKite, Seedor, Nunchuck, and Start9. If you want to book me with a private session, you're checking out all my tutorials and you need a little bit more hand holding, well, hey, there's a QR code right in the bottom of the screen. You can scan that right now. It'll take you to the page where you can go and book me for a session if you see fit. And then finally, if you really liked what you saw, you can head to my website, btcsessions.ca. Along the top, all the tabs there's one that says tips. And if you click on it, it'll take you to my own BTC Pay server where you can send me $1, buy me a coffee, help me run my node, help me with my streaming software or hardware that I review, or whatever you want. It's all there, and you can send sats over either on chain or via the Lightning Network. Anyways, with that, I am going to wrap up here. Thank you guys so much for being here. Hats off to Nico. Super happy to be back and actually live with him again. And for you guys, thanks for being here and thanks for being part of the journey. Anyways, have a wonderful day or evening wherever you may be. I'll see you guys next time for your daily session.